Her own pony. Chapter 12. Home. 2 days had passed since Strand's incident, and already it was seeming to feel like a bad memory, or maybe even a dream. Her recovery had been swift, and all too soon she was out of the hospital, in the care of her new friends. She had been slightly surprised, however, to find that she still was identical to Pinky. One perfect white streak had set itself down the side of her mane, a coat going all the way to the end of her tail. She couldn't see herself without straining, but as a method of identification was unmatched. And so she had spent relatively uneventful 2 days pottering around Camelot. Relatively being the key word. The thought of Rolling Stone and his band, as Octavia and her thriving guards were still present. The Octavia part had managed to resolve itself naturally, with Fancy simply taking himself, Strand, as well as elements of harmony to visit her. Much tea was had, near the exchange. The third conversation lifted, a good day and all. The stone matter had been slightly more difficult, so I tried to be as discreet from her fancy pants as possible. It wasn't her place to tell anyone's stone secret, but she managed to secure private audience for the princess, mainly due to the influence of her new friends in high places. There had been an understanding as the circumstances allowed, and as organized a diplomatic meeting of sorts between the changelings and the ponies. And so Strand found herself seated across the table from Stone, who was sitting in his mismatched pony form. He was also shaking, which for someone as swarthy as Stone was incredibly surprising. "Strand! I don't think I can do this," he said softly. "I'm just not ready for it." "Listen to me, Rolling Stone. Outside of the pony that you told me that was one of your oldest friends, a pony that had done more for you than anyone else. You can at least show him respect of telling him the truth." Rolling Stone, the self-proclaimed best-selling musician in the land, looked at wonderfully. "But what will you think of me when you find out how I've been lying to him?" Strand smiled. "If he's a good friend, as you say he is, then he'll forgive you in a heartbeat, and he'll accept you for who you are. I mean, he did for me. You're almost in the same situation." Stone sighed, looking around the caravan for support for his fellow musicians and performers. All of them were sitting as changelings. All of them were watching, discussing intensely. They knew that the relationship between ponies and changelings were, to put it simply, utterly non-existent. For two species to come together and become friends, utterly unheard of. Especially the mindset that many questions that had changelings were nothing more than mindless bugs ruled over a tyrannical overlord of a queen. Friendship of a decently well-known traveller performer, one of the most influential ponies in the world, would be groundbreaking. The leader of the changing band hung his head. "Well, let's get this out of the way. You'll be with me, right, Strand?" Strand smiled. "You'll always have my help from me. You know, especially after you help me." Stone sighed again, rose on his feet. He walked towards the door, paused momentarily before opening it, stepped outside. Strand followed him through. On the other side was the assortment of ponies. Both the royal decree stood next to Fancy Pants, who was watching in dignified and restrained expression. Nearby stood the 6 elements of harmony, all in various stages of excitement and support. So I could see that Stone was starting to shake a little, and put a steadying hoof on his shoulder. He looked at her gratefully, stood his back, and firmly tried to overtake wedding dignitaries. Fancy expressed her upper caste dignity, their waver, even as the friend walked closer and closer. "Hello, Fancy Pants," Stone said, putting a facade of poppiness. "It's good to see you again." Fancy told the recognition, "As it is to see you." "So I imagine that you know why we're here today." "Yes," was all Fancy said. "And I imagine that you know that now I'm a changeling, right?" Fancy didn't hesitate. Yes, I know that. And there's only two things I want to say. Oh, Stone said in a surprised voice. One, Fancy said. I am disappointed. I am disappointed that you would have lied to me for all these years. I thought that we were as thick as thieves, but then I found out that only you, but the whole band are changelings. I can understand the political reasoning, but to keep a secret like that for your best friend for so many years. Rolling Stone's ear drooped more and more as Fancy went on, his head lowering. Fancy Pants shook his head. And two, you are an idiot. What? Stone picked up his expression in eyes. To think that after all we have gone through these years, that we spent time traveling together, living together, performing together, to think that I'll just give you up. That's the most idiotic thing I have ever heard of. And believe me, I have heard many idiotic things while living in Camelot. Fancy broke a cheeky grin. I mean, come on. You remember the playhouse in Stalingrad? The fifth day that we were there. Oh, I remember. Stone said wistfully. Good times. And all that past spice ate the hats off our noble heads. Not sure how copy managed to train them. They did a sure fine job of it. The two sounds laughter continued for a few more seconds before dying down. Fancy Pants finally said, Stone, you are my friend, and that will never change. Although I don't suppose you could. Fancy Pants petered out, leaving a question hanging. Stone said, all right, just for you. A burst of green and bolt fire engulfed him, doing nothing but blacken looking bug-like creature's place. Silence engulfed the ponies, only broken by Fancy chuckling. Damn! Now you look even uglier than you did. Ah, shove it! Up your plot, you stuffy old aristocrat, Stone retorted. So now, mind if I go and meet the band properly this time? Fancy said, still laughing on his breath. Not at all, Stone replied, leave his old company away towards the caravan. Strand stood in place nervously, not sure Princess wanted something more for the meeting. That feeling melted away upon seeing sapphire grins spread across both Dee Dee's face. It seemed they wanted old friendship rekindled as well. One week later, another Strand could hear the voice of many, many ponies mixing together in an anxious cacophony of conversation. She couldn't manage to pick up any particular words amongst the crowd, but the gist of it was the ponies were very curious, very curious. Of course, the reason for such a motion. Not even every day that humble town pony was called to attention at the town hall. Although, considering the events that happened in the past, that tradition was probably on the way out. And so was the Strand found herself shaking slightly. She stood in one of the slight cavities behind the magic stage. This in the frenzy that town had worked itself into. Well, frenzy might be overstatement. Something that just feels that way. Especially when your whole reason town finds itself watching an empty stage. Sun jumped as hoof rested itself on her shoulder. She managed to settle herself with her calming voice. 5 minutes, the voice said. It'll be fine. Stick to the notes I gave you. The new pony turned to find no one else but Starlight Sparkle looking at her, kindness in her eyes. Upon seeing Strand's nervous, she sighed. I know it's frightening, she said. I'll had to go through this same thing myself before, although probably not such under the unique circumstances. Twilight lifted her hoof. and tapped it on the floor softly. Looked like she wanted to say something else. "Get ready, Strand. About to start." Her voice came from somewhere to the right. Strand gave Twilight a quick glance before turning to move away to the stage. She almost reached the edge of the curtain when Twilight called out, "Strand! Wait a moment." Strand paused, looking for over the shoulder. Twilight was looking at the ground shyly, tapping her hoof rapidly. "Just before you go," I said, "I want to say," the purple light burning in Ponyville, with my magical deep breath, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything I put you through. I'm sorry that it was because of me you forced to go to Camelot. Most of all, I'm sorry because of the way I treated you, the way I chased you. You almost died." Twilight almost looked like she was going to cry. I was doing what I thought was right at the time. I thought it was some sort of evil thing that was trying to win Ponyville. I thought we were in danger. At this, a small drop of moisture did drop from Twilight's face, plopping on the ground quietly. Strand moved towards Twilight, slowly but surely, swept the hooves around the shaking pony, holding her tight. "Twilight," she said, looking forward, "I forgive you. I forgive you a long time ago. In fact, the day I recovered, I forgave you." Twilight lifted her head, looking in confusion. "You did?" Strand nodded. "Of course, I did. Be honest, if I had been running from you all, I would have met the ponies I did. Probably would have panned out a lot differently." Twilight nodded slowly. That's true, I guess. But I still feel guilty for chasing you like some common thing from ever free. I never stopped to think that you're a real, living pony. But you had no way of knowing. To you, I could just been one of the Strand suppressed a slight slither at others. But that doesn't matter. So look at Twilight and firm expression on her face. I never blamed any of you. I mean, if I did, probably wouldn't have stayed to learn who you are and to become friends. You and the other girls are pretty much the only friends I have. I blame you, let alone hate you. Stupid. You're being stupid, Twilight. Twilight let a small giggle. "I guess it's true. But I still had to apologize. I am sorry for what I did. What I did to you. What I did to you. What we did to you." "Okay, you're ready. Come along with the curtain and May will give you escort to your queue." The same voice from earlier he called out. Strand looked at Twilight. "Looks like my time. You break out over there. I'll see you in the crowd." Twilight nodded. "We'll be caring for you." Silence more intimidating than she expected. There was not just a silence. Silence makes the expectation at many points as watched and waiting for her to say something. Come on, she thought. Like a card. We were on him, just breathe and read. Strand took a starting breath, looked up at the staring crowd. She could see many unfamiliar faces. Some looked with curiosity, some with boredom, some with something bordering, lining suspicion. He recognized her not to be a real Pinkie Pie. Strand looked up slightly, locking her eyes on the white streak through her mane. The same one she had seen upon waking the hospital in Camelot after her freedom. But it's the one thing that differentiates her. When Pinkie at a glance, it would probably be that streak. In her breath, her eyes locking on the person in front of her on the stand. The words on them seemed to be swim on a page, making the letters together, punctuation marks and occasional number. She looked to her left. The mayor sitting. Look at her. There's your eyes. She waved a hoof. Back in the ear, start speaking. But Strand's mouth was dry, her tongue parched. She couldn't read if she tried. She looked up to the crowd again. They were still looking at her. Some was starting to become more and more impatient. But she could spy a few eye-pointed crowd. The ones that were giving an unusual look, encouragement. She could see Fancy Pants standing there in a fine suit. A certain mayor particularly draped over his back with an exciting glint in her eyes as she smiled up at Strand. She had only seen Fleur once or twice, but from runnings she had figured out Fleur was the one nicest pony she ever met. Strand looked on. She could see Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Twilight, and barely Fluttershy. They all had huge smiles on their face. Bob Rainbow Dash would wave a hoof in circles and mumbling something to Fluttershy, who was nodding slightly. The edge of the crowd was a ragtag group, and carried odd-looking ponies in some strangest fashion she had ever seen. At the head of the pack was none other than Rolling Stone, the friendly leader of the changeling travelling pack. And all of them were smiling at her. A huge chill of warmth shot through Strand, put a slight smile on her face. She looked at the notes in front of her, and suddenly they didn't seem so dark anymore. She shuffled her front page and started to read. Good morning, Ponyville. My name's Strand. I am new to this town. A murmur of laughter ran through the crowd. The incredible formal sound beginning. She continued, as you may know, there was an incident just a week ago involving clones of one of the town folks. A baker, a sugar cube corner, Pinkie Pie. Some of the crowd nodded in agreement, while some seemed to understand where this was going. I was one of those clones. So I continued. Shortly after, seemingly the last clones departed by none other than Twilight Sparkle, a great display of problem solving. She looked to see a few of the ponies from the aforementioned pony. Look at Twilight blush. I boarded a train to Camelot. Upon reaching the city, I was taken in and shown around the city by none of the Fancy Pants, who was an incredibly generous host and complete understanding. What she didn't mention was the Fancy Pants had even known she was a clone. After 3 days, I was taken to meet the princess in the castle. The agreement was made, and as a part of that, I happened to live and work in Ponyville. The princess decided it was the best for you all to know what happened to the clones and me. So I talked to the mayor and scheduled this meeting. Strand turned to the last page of a small leaflet. I hope that in the future I can know all you better, that you will contact me as a Ponyvillian pony, as someone that lives alongside you. Strand stepped back from the podium, and the mayor stepped back to her place. And now, Americans, please give Strand a warm welcome to another life in Ponyville. The sound of stomping hooves, warm cheering lit up. Strand's heart made a grim increase in size, and in the far distance she could hear a doppelganger leap into the air and made some sort of exclamation, to which the half crowd groaned in amusement as Pinkie shot off away from the crowd. Confetti streams blowing in the air. Strand could fairly make out a cry of "Party!" The sun long since set. The festivity had yet to die down. Music blared from the live ragtag performers. A few hours earlier they had pulled up in a huge caravan next open area in the town, and though utterly ridiculous in modern instrument and equipment, all in the eyes of what a Rolling Stone. The glittering light of bonfire, the center of the square was all set by a dull twinkling of stars overhead, and slightly more bright lights of the hanging lanterns that swung about the streets levelled between the houses. How they had been all set up at such a noise was still a mystery, but as most things that involved Pinkie, it is better not to ask. Most of the town stopped, parting. Some had gone back to home to put children to bed. That then stopped a huge amount of ponies from laughing, yelling, dancing along to music. Silent Sprite, ancient-looking green pony, missing almost all of her teeth, and only had a few white hairs, doing a fast-paced jig. The group of young fillies and colts almost looked like they were having time of their lives. Not everyone was dancing, however. Toward the square, so I could make a flashlight flare, both sitting surrounded by curious woodland creatures, both with huge smiles on their face, both having very animated discussions. They quickly burst in laughing, throwing bunnies around them, tried to show off to his friends, but instead landed on his head. So I looked further, seeing Fancy and Rarity telling along the finer points of what she could only imagine to be high society, both looking happy, contented talking. Toward dancers, so I could see Pinkie and Rainbow Dash, even Applejack, all in fast-paced dancing competition. They were doing some sort of breakdance. Half Jack was doing some supposed to cross a square dance and jig, and Pinky was, well, she was doing something. If it could be thought as dancing, then that was fine, so I could make neither heads or tails of it. Of course, I wasn't seeing all this was a big Rolling Stone. I was saying about changing in the skies, glad to see ponies have a great time, but that's the expression of a pony. It could die at the very instant. I wouldn't have cared, because they would have died happy. Considering how he travelled the world, what kind of stories he told, at least he was probably happy to be back in land he called home. Before me, ponies he called friends, the only way he loved. All the other sky changing looked like they were having a great time. Some of the actual performers among them were mingling with the audience. Some blowing fire, some juggling, some doing a magic trick or two. Heck, some just talking. The town folks knew what they were, so no nervousness here. Everyone just being themselves. Of course, the view changing hadn't gone as smoothly as they hoped. So many town folks had been slightly resistant to the idea of changing around them. They understood in the end, of course, this fine line between logic and emotion. However, the town got over the initial resistance. The two species had got along as one pony would with another. And of course, there was the running with Octavia. The grey mare was still slightly angry, more a bit suspicious. But I talked with the princess. I found things out. Besides, he got to meet real Pinky at the same time, so when we were settled. Strand interrupted from a very view, but I tried tapping again. The purple unicorn was looking at her with concerning eyes. Aren't you going to get in the party? No. So I said, I think I better just prefer to watch and see what happens. Noise was never really my thing, you know. Twilight nodded. Yeah, I know that feeling. Give me a good booking day or a louder bankers party. She shook her head. That wasn't the reason I wanted to talk with you. So I think I made a bit of breakthrough with the cause of all this. Sterners picked up it. Really? She made a progressing idea you had? Of course! The idea earlier this week was only over fun. I've done a lot more research on the mere pool since then, and I came with an idea. From the scripture the pool was based on, desire for something, and mine's copied on Pinky's rhyme. One along the lines of this. Where the brambles are thickest, there you'll find, yada yada, into your own reflection she stared, yearning for one whose reflection she shared. I ignore the rest of the story, as that seemed to be for show, but from what I can see in Maripool is all about a single yearning idea. And some more research came with something slightly more disturbing. It's a soul magic, literally. You can input our pony's soul and paste a one-dimensional image of yearning on top of that. The problem with this kind of magic, her soul started to deteriorate at a short time. I saw this in other clones. They broke down, lost focus, or the imprinted desire became slightly haywire. Twilight narrowed her eyes and poked at Strand's face. Something about you, however, Twilight said, slowly. Something happened that broke that mold. You still had the imprint desire, but shadowed some way. I thought because Pinky had based all of the clones off a single original. They were all linked to the first one. And I think you were the first one. She netted back, caused a magical resonance throughout the mirror pool, as if triconcentrated for linkages of the souls that had imprinted. Couldn't probably put it out of the way until you were there too, because you were a master copy. Well, according to Pinky, she still created some others. There was big enough whiplash, a huge quantities appearing at once, caused the mirror pool to try to gain some stability. They wanted to have all the imprinted souls back. It wasn't you. The pool behaved in a way akin to a truly sentient being. They were slightly disturbed. Twilight paused. From what I saw, I heard, you were losing your coat collar. There are pinky marks. All the identity I saw were giving you. Were disappearing to the pool. Be honest, I'm surprised you didn't completely disappear. It's truly remarkable. I never heard of anything like this happening. Something struck in Stran's mind. But when I woke up in the hospital, so I realized I'm getting to that. From what I've concluded so far, I think how to put this? I think you grew your own soul. Wait, grew? Twilight rubbed the hoof against her cheek. There's got to be a better phrasing. Sprawn, stalled, no, not all. Strand was, as Twilight mumbled to herself. Twilight, you there? No, can't say that. There'll be a paradox for dark souls. Twilight. A dark sign is among us. Twilight yelled. Stall steady. Strand watching his son. Oh, sorry. Twilight said. We're thinking of something else. Strand gave a deadpan look. You're saying about my soul? Of course. What blast I hit you with? Interrogation chamber? Well, same one that resigned. Sent his soul back to the pool. Twilight paused. Exactly what I think I did. Strand froze. What? Wait, what? Twilight sighed. That's what I've concluded with so far. Seeing that soul you had was banished to the pool. But you already had something else inside. You made your own soul. You turned yourself into separate entity from Pinky's soul and everything. I don't know how it happened. It seemed like everyone of soul magic, but it did. Strand grinned softly. Seemed like the little Pinky that had been me paid off. Huh? What do you mean? From what I've seen, you don't question Pinky. If something possible happens, just go with it. Don't ask. Don't ask questions. Especially in the for better. Twilight goodness. Not again. I've had enough trouble trying to explain Pinky. I don't need more. Twilight stamped a hoof on the ground. I still won't give up. I'll explain how this happened. Strand grinned. I won't expect anything less. Twilight sighed and sat down nearby a bench. I shouldn't be trying to disprove theories anyways. You survived and you're here. So I guess that's all that matters. A small smile spread across Twilight's face as she watched all her friends having what looked like time of their lives. The grin slowly but surely turned cheeky. How about you join them? Can't friends have all fun, can we? Strand's breath caught slightly at that. Our friends. Yeah, I think I can get to that hand a bit more. She nodded the unicorn, regarded one of Strand's hoofs, and pointing it to the fray of dancing ponies. As Strand looked, the rolling blurs of colours of ponies, laughing, saying about something. She had been in Ponyville for the last week or so, so now she was feeling truly home. Well, that was Her Own Pony by Joel Ferrer. Thanks for listening to the story, and good night.